Barnwell released his top 5 list of NFL teams most likely to decline this season. And the Patriots make this list along with the Broncos, Bears, Jaguars, and Panthers. Bill predicts 5 of the 8 division winners from last year will take a step back, including the 2 teams that played for the AFC Championship last year, the Patriots and the Broncos. That's a big take, Doggy. What do you think?
I think the Broncos. Go look at that schedule. I know, I'm big on schedules.
We know. We know.
Here we go. You know that. I was breaking
Give this man the schedule.
I was breaking Lewis's flight to Tuscaloosa next year.
There it is. There's your schedule.
Look at the beginning of this.
Doggy.
At Kansas City, it's a Monday night game that we have. Jaguars, all right, early in the year. Then the Rams, at the 49ers, at the Chargers, the Seahawks. I mean, oh my God, those first 6 games are brutal. Now listen, they get the Jets, I understand that, they get Miami, but then later on, they also get, they get Buffalo, and then look at the finish to the season. Bills at Patriots, Chargers. That is very, very difficult. They play the NFC West, so that means they get Rams, Seahawks in San Francisco. They play the Bills, they play the Patriots, and that division, even the Raiders are going to be a little better. I think they're going to come down from 14 simply because of that.
So I think heading into the AFC Championship, the Broncos ranked 3rd in scoring defense, and yet people are still down on them, particularly, I don't know if it's because of Bo Nix. I'm curious, what do you think, Kevin?
It's a Bo Nix narrative, and I don't think it's necessarily fair. First of all, Bo Nix is a very dependable quarterback, and here's the stat. They had a 10-game winning streak last year in which Bo Nix had a quarterback rating in those games of 87. That is the worst mark by a quarterback in the midst of a 10-game winning streak since Kerry Collins in 2008 with the Titans. So what that means to me, even though I think Bo Nix is maybe better than the national narrative, what that means to me is they can do it whether or not Bo Nix is playing well or not. They have the Jalen Waddle is going to be a plus addition. They've got the best offensive line in football. They've got one of the best defenses in football. This entire thing is built around not having to have an elite quarterback and Bo Nix not being an elite quarterback. That part is fine. I think that when you mention their schedule, those teams have to play the Broncos. Those teams are worried about the Broncos, okay? The Chiefs are worried about the Broncos in week 1. So I don't look at the schedule as a huge hindrance. I don't think they're going to win 14 games again, but they're definitely going to compete for a Super Bowl.
Look, I think this is a better football team than they were a year ago.
Yeah.
They're a better football team. I don't believe in regression for the sake of regression simply because the law of averages catches up to a football team. I hate that argument. I don't like that argument. The NFL is a personnel-driven league. It is about players. It's about talent. And it's about coaches who can take that talent and have it play 11-on-11 football. Look, when you're talking about Bo Nix, would you like for him statistically to be up there with the Josh Allens and Jordan Loves? Well, of course, because that's easy then, right? Then you can say, well, of course the Broncos are going to be there in the very end. But see, as soon as quarterback play starts to become middle of the pack, people don't want to kind of look at the other positions on this roster. And you tell me where the glaring weaknesses are for the Denver Broncos. You tell me where they haven't improved. If there's anything right now, look, if there's something you want to point to, let's point to this. How is Davis Webb going to really, adjust to being the primary play caller? And what is Sean Payton's influence going to be on Davis Webb now being the primary play caller? Are they going to commit to the running game, which is something that Sean says he wants to do a little bit more? And if they do, look, I'll tell you what. The combination of R.J. Harvey and Jonah Coleman, look out now. That'll be as good as any in the NFL. That is a great 1-2 punch right there. Wide receivers, offensive line, you already talked about, one of the best in the NFL. Defense is going to hold it down. They're going to do what they need to do. They will be as good as they were a year ago. I just don't see it. And when we talk about teams like the Patriots, naturally people think that they're going to regress as well because they took advantage of an easy schedule last year. They got the Broncos, ironically, without Bo Nix, and then that's how they got to the Super Bowl. The Patriots are a much better football team in 2026 than they were in 2025. They are much better. The offensive line is stronger. The wide receiver core is better. The number one question that they have is on the defensive side of the football, can they rush the passer on the perimeter? Have they upgraded that? Is Gabe Akis going to be that guy, the draft pick from Illinois? Is Draymond Jones going to come through? They've got the defensive tackles. They got the linebackers. They got a hell of a secondary. They're a better football team.
Kevin, are they a better football team? What's your follow-up?
They are, and I think that's the signal. The Jalen Waddle trade to me, Lewis, was Sean Payton saying, The AFC is wide open because we don't know about the Chiefs right now. The Chargers are still the Chargers, right? We have to figure that out. The Bills and the Ravens are in flux with new coaching staffs. There's so many questions. The Bengals still have to prove it on the field. There's so many questions that going all in on a deep threat like that with Jalen Waddle, this is the year to go all in. You mentioned the fact that Sean Payton, for the first time in his career, is not the primary play caller. That's intriguing to me, but he's in the building. He'll still be putting together these game plans. I'm not worried about very much in Denver.
Yeah, Super Bowl hangover for New England. And you lose that Super Bowl, Chiefs, San Francisco, Eagles. Sometimes that next year it's a little flat.
Nope. Put my foot down. I'm putting my host foot down. Because we got to go to break. But before we do that, let's do a quick take.
Why not?
Because, Mad Dog, I know you were hot on this. Brewers manager Pat Murphy benched rookie Cooper Pratt for not running hard to first base. Doggy, what do you make of this?
I loved it. I mean, I know Milwaukee, it's an easy team to do this. They don't have a lot of stars. I mean, do this to Ohtani and Freddie Freeman if they were not running a little harder. But, Murphy is he's sort of an underrated manager. He's 68 years of age. He's old school, managed in college. And he got him out of the game right away. Look, here he comes out of the game, pinch runner. Out he goes. What? Me? Yeah, you, get out. I'm not going to stand for that. I mean, he showed him up. He didn't do it after the inning. He did it right then and there. If you're not going to be at second base on this little pop-up, which you should have been at in a 2-2 game, I'm gonna take notice of that. And he took him out. He's a rookie. He's a highly, he's a guy that is going to be a big part of their future. And I know with Milwaukee, it's easy, because they got a lot of these kind of guys who are not big names, so nobody's going to make a big deal about it. I thought Murphy showed me some guts. Like, coach is one of the great coaches we've ever had. All right, I'll let Lewis break down the offensive line. I've heard there's some issues there. But Walker's going to help their running game. He's going to help their running game. Spags will put together a good defense. I know they lost McDuffie, but he's going to put together a good defense. Geez, they're 10.5 in Vegas with the number, and I would take the over. I trust the quarterback. I'm putting my money on Mahomes.
Yeah, Doug, I'm with you in the sense that putting the Lions, Ravens, and Chiefs on this list is tough because they're going to be better. Of course they're going to be better. They're going to be healthier. They have great quarterbacks. They have better staffs, et cetera, et cetera. But when you think about a Chiefs turnaround, there's two different categories. Will they be better and make the playoffs? Probably. Will they be the Mahomes Chiefs we remember? Probably not. Here's the stat Hembo gave me earlier this morning that stopped me in my tracks. Last 4 seasons, 18 Mahomes pass touchdowns outside the red zone. 18, 4 seasons. That's not so bad. The 4 seasons before that, 56 passing touchdowns outside the red zone. They were creating something out of nothing all of the time. They haven't been able to do that since Tyreek Hill left, since they had a reliable downfield threat, since Travis Kelce was in his prime. So they've got to discover how to have that deep ball magic again. They just simply haven't done it. They drafted Xavier Worthy in the first round, hoping that would happen. Hasn't clicked just yet. Maybe it does this year. We talked about the offensive line issues. I've seen Mahomes win with worse obstacles than having a bad tackle. I'm okay with that. The defense, we talked about the McDuffie and some of those questions. Brian Cook, the safety who goes to Cincinnati. There are questions there. Can the young guys replace the veterans that they miss? So questions abound. I think they'll make the playoffs. They're not going to be division winner, Super Bowl champion, that kind of thing yet. I still need to see a little more.
Yeah, look, I think it's going to look different in Kansas City this year. It's going to look different. Do I think that they're going to have a rebound? Yeah. Do I think they will be better than they were in 2025? Yeah. I think their upside will be about how this current iteration of this offense gels early on in the season, as far as the offensive line being able to capture the line of scrimmage, run the football with a lot of authority, with a lot of physicality, which is what Eric Bieniemy wants to do. And then how does he evolve as the season progresses and he gets stronger and stronger? As he just alluded to, he says, look, the more I practice, the better I feel. He's going to have to win with his mind early on in his mastery of this offense, which he has been in it his entire career. Now he could teach it to the young players. I think that's where you're going to see him take leaps as far as him being able to stay in the pocket and really distribute and win, because he understands all the nuance of the offense. And then as the season progresses, he kind of breaks outside of that shell and he starts doing some of the Mahomes magic that he's done in the past. And then it's going to be about who at the wide receiver core, who in the wide receiver room steps to the forefront and proves that, look, I can be your guy. I can be your guy, short, intermediate, and deep. Xavier Worthy, do you become that guy? Do you truly become that guy who can be that third-level threat? Is Cyrus Allen as good as many in Kansas City and many who have played the wide receiver position believe he can be in the middle of the field? Can Travis Kelce turn back the clock? Is Josh Simmons going to stay healthy on the left side? Yeah. Is Jalen Moore going to be a dependable right tackle? We know the interior three is going to be fine, and Kenneth Walker is going to be fine. And this young defense, look, they've got some dudes now who are young, have fresh legs, and Spags is going to put them in good spots. It's all going to be about, to me, the offensive line, how this offense evolves, and then whether or not somebody can prove to be Patrick's go-to guy.
I find it really interesting that we all are in agreement that despite the torn ACL and the torn LCL, we still have faith in Patrick Mahomes despite their offensive line questions. Mm-hmm. You more than anybody has said, I've seen Patrick. It's fine. He'll figure it out. But that's a serious knee injury. Yeah. Why are you not as